Hello. I'm going to show you a little bit about R and RStudio and how to install it. Now it's already installed on this machine, so I'm just going to sort of pantomime this for you. So first thing you want to do is go to the website rstudio.com. Okay, and you're going to click, first of all, you're going to say download, and then you're going to say all the way down here, download, click. And the file that you're going to get is going to be this file. Then you're going to double click to install it. But what's going to happen after you install it and try to open it, it will say, hey, guess what? You don't have R on your system. In some cases, your machine will automatically start downloading R if you let it. And so I've had that behavior before. I have not had that behavior on this particular computer. So on this particular computer, then the next step I had to do is actually go to CRAN R project. So you have to go here, CRAN R project, and you need to go to Windows Base. Now, if you're on Mac, you go to bin Mac OS, and then you would click right here, and that file will get downloaded to your desktop, and it will look like this middle one. You click that and install it. At that point, you should have a working version of R. Sorry, you run this, but then you're going to launch RStudio. Let me be clear. You have R and you have RStudio, and they work together to bring you R. But after you've installed both of those, I want you to once again close down R and install one more thing, which is the R tools, and I will show you where that is. If you are not a Windows user, you do not have to install that. It's right here, except that it's not spelled correctly. Something is wrong. R. Very, very sorry. I don't know why that autofilled like that. Project. This is where I want to go. Okay, so you need to download, if you are on a new computer, which most of you are, download 64. 64 includes both the old and the new compilers. If you're on a very old machine that is strictly only 32-bit capable, then you can use the old one. Okay? So once you've installed those three things, then you're welcome to go ahead and toss these files. Okay, you don't need them anymore. Most people's executables, their installation software, will end up in their downloads directory. My downloads directory is my desktop, so that's me. But you'll find those in your downloads directory and you'll install. Okay, then what you need to do is open up RStudio, kind of like a fresh start here. Okay, so you're going to want to install packages. Tidyverse. This one is our big one. It's going to be our workhorse. Dependencies equals true is not always necessary, but it's kind of important sometimes. This went really, really quickly for me because actually I already installed it. For you, it's just going to take a long time and just sit there and sit there and sit there. So take your time. Don't worry about it. Then you're going to say install packages like US map. Now, this one we're not going to use today, but we're going to use it the next time we get together. Okay? I'm kind of surprised that it reinstalled on me. Anyway, the other thing you want to install is remotes. This allows you to install things from remote sources, and that's why you downloaded the R tools in the first place, to give you this extra ability to install more things. Install GitHub, KJHELY, Cov data. This allows us to install it allows us to download COVID data and deal with it. So it's yelling at me because I just literally did this. And so for you, it should not yell at you. One thing it might do, though, is it might pop up or under a window. So if it seems to freeze, you need to minimize R to see if there's a pop under permissions window. You may or may not be forced to give permission. Okay, so be aware that that could happen, because sometimes I've had it happen. I'm sitting here and I'm like, why is it taking so long? And it's like, oh, because there's actually a permissions window that you forgot to say yes to. Okay, after this point, you're going to want to explore this new world. So even though you've installed all these things, which you only have to do once, but every single time you use them, you need to invoke them. Please note that when you're installing, you're going to use quotes around the name of the library or a package. You can call it a library or a package, it's the same thing. But if you are invoking it, then you do not use quotes. Okay? Notice you can give yourself a name. There you go. This is a data type called string. So my name is a string. You can see it over here. It showed up in my environment over there. So it's characters that could be letters, numbers, spaces, anything you want, back to back. The quote is not part of what is stored. The quote is there so the machine will tell you what just happened. Like the machine is there, like telling you that inside this is, let's see. Yeah. I was hopeful that it would tell me the length of the thing. Okay. So my name has one string in it. Okay, at least I know. It's not exactly what I was asking, but, well, at least the word length works. Okay, so resisting the urge to play around too much, I just want to show you a couple tricks. I want you to think of this as just a really fancy calculator. There's already a natural log in there called log. You can do sine and cosine. E to the power of 1, e to the power of 2. You can have fun with that. Square root of 144, square root of 200, whatever you like. If you want to take the average of something, you can have like several data elements, and you want to take an average of everything. What did I just type? I just typed something like this. C means concatenate, but you can just think of it as a collection. It's a collection of numbers in a row. We call it a vector. Okay, so that's a fancy name for just a collection of numbers. If you want to find the median is the middlemost element. Okay, so the median of a whole collection of numbers in this case is just 1, because that's the number who's in the middle. Notice the mean is not 1. The mean is you add them all up and divide by the number of things there are, as opposed to the median, which is line them up smallest to biggest and tell me who's in the middle. Okay, so what if we want to know very simple things like the maximum of a vector? It can tell us that. We can plot some very simple things here. This is a very simplistic tool for plotting points. If you have two vectors, you can just plot them. In this case, the first vector is telling you all the x values, and the second vector is telling you all the y values. Well, what if we want lines connecting these? Let's go ahead and try to do this. Great, we can connect them with lines, but I can't use the lines command until there's already a plot up there. And I do have a command that says wipe off everything that's on the plot right now. I just want a clean slate. Maybe I want to plot something that is just of type line to begin with. So let me give you an example of that. This is a lowercase l, not a 1. Except that I did something wrong. Oh, because I didn't copy what I had written. This is a divide by, and I didn't give it a vector yet. Well, that would be useful. typo. If you don't want to type something over and over again, I'm right here hitting the up arrow button to just scroll through my previous commands. It's a big time saver. Okay, so if I want to say something to myself, I can say hi. Anything that starts with a pound sign doesn't get evaluated. And you may think, well, so what? Why would you want to say anything to yourself? Well, pretty soon you'll want to. In this environment, the console environment, it's not very useful. It's not useful at all. But it will become useful very, very soon. Next time on the next video. So here's something I can do that's kind of useful. I can look at a sequence of values from 0 to pi and stepping by 0.1. Okay, now I can just go back and say, okay, I want to plot that thing I just had, and now I have a different V. So I got a third of a sine curve. Well, maybe I want a whole sine curve, so I'm going to actually just change this to sine of V instead of sine of V over 3. There we go. So there's sine from 0 to pi, roughly. Okay, what else? I've been using these little vectors without saying much about them. What else can I do with them? What's V2 and V3? Huh. Oh, because I made capital V. Well then, what about if Q is made up of concatenating V2 and capital V3 together? Then what do I get? What they do is it just glues the two vectors together. So if you're used to a different environment like Python, you might be a little bit surprised at this behavior. If you have never done this sort of thing before, it might seem like the most obvious thing you would want to do. Okay, so whenever you're in a new environment, it's good to play around with some basic data types and just see what they do and figure out what the rules are in your new environment. One thing that's really great about R is that you have a whole bunch of data sets at your disposal, and I like this data set that's about beavers. I'm not going to tell you what it's about, but you can research it if you care. But they did some research on some beavers, and the day is probably like the day of the year, not the day of the research study. Okay, so there's only 2 days in the research study. This basically takes place over roughly 24 hours. But maybe in our research, like maybe we want to analyze this data and we really want to call day 346 day 1. So one thing you could do is you can make a copy of this. You can't change your beaver data set, but you could say my beavers, or I don't think it will let you. You shouldn't anyway. My beavers is data sets beaver 1. This makes what's called a deep copy. That makes you a copy for your personal use that you can contaminate all you want and it won't hurt the original data set. So I don't like the fact that day, so I'm going to use a $sign to get to that variable. I don't like the way that is, and I'm going to adjust it by subtracting 345 from it. And I forgot to put an S at the end of my beavers. There's more than one beaver. Anyway, so well, maybe it's not. Maybe there's another beaver in another data set. But anyway, there were more than one beaver. There was more than one beaver in the study, but this may just be data for one beaver. So I apologize if this is one beaver. But anyway, view my beavers, and then you've got day 1 and notice day 2 at the bottom of your data set. So you've successfully adjusted the data set by using some kind of algebraic manipulation. You can also make garbage. Stuff is sine of my beavers temp. This is completely bogus. I just completely made that up. And now I completely regret making that up because now it's messing up my data set. So I'm going to take it away now. My beavers stuff is null. I want to get rid of it, wipe it out, and view my beavers again and see it's gone. Okay, you can also do head my beavers, and you get a little bit of the data set. So you can just get a sense for what it looks like. You don't want to scroll through the whole thing, you just want to see a couple rows, then you can do that. If you want to see some summary statistics, then that's a good thing to do. Another trick is if you just say data sets and you just sit here after 2 colons, it will list them for you. And so you can just scroll through and say, oh my gosh, where did we get these from? Well, we got these from all the libraries we installed. Some of them are from base R, but we invoked some libraries. And so all the libraries we invoked will show up in this list. So we have a whole bunch of data sets at our disposal. And what I'm asking you to do now, just to play around, is just pull one up and just try one. Just click on one of these and just take a look at it. You can do a view on that. I just hit up arrow to get that. View is capital V in case you're wondering. You probably noticed that it's very sensitive about whether you use capital or lowercase letters. Okay, and that is the end of my discussion for today. Just go ahead and play around with R and see what you can make it do. I don't usually save my my state. You're welcome to save differently if you wish. It's fine, it's personal preference. See you next time.